Today we're joined by Lucy. She's originally from China. She now lives in Hong Kong. And she's going to tell us about the situation in Shanghai at the moment with the lockdown. And she has a few friends there. She's talked to people. So we're just going to ask you, Lucy, so what is the situation there? What have you heard from people? How long has been going on this lockdown, and how long do you think it will last?
Well, the situation in Shanghai has been really bad. So the lockdown has been going on for a month, and we really don't have a clear picture when it's going to end. My friend said we don't even see the turning point yet for the situation to get better. I think it's going to get the virus situation is going to get worse before it gets better.
So the other questions would be, we've seen recently, especially via Twitter, lots of videos coming from Shanghai, supposedly coming from Shanghai, especially a couple of them. One really made a strong impact online. It went really viral. Millions of people watched it, and refers to some person in a balcony somewhere in Shanghai recording what apparently seems to be like people screaming out of their lungs from these skyscrapers. I guess that's a real video, because I checked it a bit, and it doesn't seem to be any fake there, even though I'm curious why that only video became so popular and not similar videos, because everybody was screaming. I guess lots of more people uploaded similar videos, but only that one went really viral. But anyway, what were they saying when was there real screaming? Was there really a connection with the lack of food and everything that's going on?
Yeah, I think the video could be true. I cannot verify the validity of the video, but I based on my conversation with my friends, I can certainly feel their pain and frustration in dealing with, frankly, not in dealing with the virus, but in dealing with the policies and the the real consequence on their lives of those policies. Yes, and there is a real situation of lack of food for the whole city, you can say. We don't have they don't have enough food, and people my friend and we were joking that we cannot imagine such a big city every day most people's first priority is to get enough food, and then seriously, people 6 o'clock in the morning or whatever, the online shoppers open, and their number one priority is to get their alarm and then get online and try to get food. And in a lot of situations, they end up with an empty cart in their online shopping app, because you just cannot get I guess there are not enough supplies.
I see. That's terrible to hear that. I wonder, because the first thing that would come to my mind is why some people have shortages at the moment, while others, if you look online, the people that say, oh, I've been living here for years and never had, even during the lockdown, never had any problems gathering the food. But when then we saw other images of people claiming that there actually are these shortages. So what is the difference? Like, what is it? Because the people who can get online first and buy them first, they're served first, as the old saying goes? Or, I mean, is there something else? Is there like maybe some people have better connection? I don't know, because we just gave a couple of days ago the news, which actually wasn't really picked up in media in general, about this politician, son of a politician who actually distributed for himself and for his own profit some tons of food and making a lot of money. He was caught in the end. So is there any dynamics that work at this point, they make it able for some people to gather the food and some others don't? Or is it just at random?
I think, okay, number one, the situation is getting better as we speak today. But in the past, I would say 2 weeks, the situation was there there haven't been enough supply for the city, because as you can imagine, Shanghai is highly commercialized, and a lot of their food supplies are come from outside provinces. So it's, and when the lockdown happened, the outside cars, the trucks cannot enter Shanghai, because once they enter, they cannot get out. No vehicle, if you enter Shanghai, you cannot get out freely. And so that's why basically their supply chain was cut off. And that's the most pressing issue. And that's the reason it caused this huge problem. And when you don't have enough supply, and then the government try to work things out, and as you can imagine, there's a disconnection between how the government react, to the disconnection caused by this not very considerate policies. And yes, I think the city are lack of people, when the government do solve the supply, not solve, but when food are coming, they don't have enough people to distribute, because people, despite they're working at home, they don't have enough community workers or volunteers to distribute. And yes, we do see maybe some people are taking advantage of this situation.
Great. So let's go to the main question, which I think everybody is asking themselves, especially in the West. So why this zero policy on COVID when the rest of the world, it's basically opening up? We have countries in Europe, Italy is the same, that, like next month, this green pass is going to disappear basically. And it's being one of the toughest countries in adopting policies against the COVID. So why is China doing this again, like against the trend? Is it anything to do with Xi Jinping, the fact that being the leader and having serving during his time, this huge pandemic, it's maybe superstitiously speaking, like some sign from the gods, like there used to be the heaven appointed the emperor back at the times, and a bad harvest or a typhoon or anything that killed a lot of people would have been seen from the regular people as a sign from the heaven that the emperor's time was over. Okay, is there anything that could be picked up in this, that it might sense this Xi Jinping might sense that he has to be everything in his power to reduce to zero, because it's his face in what's at stake here?
I want to speak, I want to speak from, I like to share how, ordinary Chinese feel about this. With that, before the Shanghai situation, if you ask 10 Chinese, probably I can say that 8 or even 9 Chinese people would say, we should stick to the zero COVID policy, because, government propaganda or not, we value people's life. But that's a debatable statement. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is the zero COVID policy, despite it may look crazy for the outside, has people's support inside China. Had people support inside China. The Shanghai situation is going completely out of control. So as for why we're having this policy, people support that, and I guess the Chinese or the Oriental culture, we kind of we're not so upfront with the survival theory, I guess, the fittest survival theory, because COVID, in our understanding, COVID is not friendly with the seniors and the people with underlying issues. People, with most people, it's basically a cold. However, to let to give up zero COVID is basically giving up those seniors and people with underlying issues, and that is actually that has a problem with our culture. For people to accept that concept is an issue. However, the government, I guess it's also, I think it's fair to say the government, it's also difficult for the government to draw a line, how to implement the zero COVID policy. Clearly, what's happening in Shanghai is saying that, they're not balancing it well.
Another thing that flowed through the media comments, etc., was the fact that the people, put forward the thought that it could be threats of riots on the streets, maybe in other parts of China, probably maybe even in Shanghai itself, because of these policies, because the people maybe cannot endure. How long is it going to go? Nobody knows. Do you think that could be an issue, the riots itself, like people actually taking the streets?
Actually, I just spoke with a friend in Shanghai before this video. I learned that the situation are getting better. At least the food supply shortage is getting better. So, and then most people are working. It's I think people are going to getting more frustrated. Like I can speak with my own experience by Hong Kong. We never had the Shanghai scale lockdown, but people here, already got very frustrated. So I can imagine, Shanghai people will get frustrated, but it's hard for me to imagine there will be riots.
I see. Well, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge about these issues, and hopefully then, since you are in Hong Kong, since Hong Kong was one of the toughest in terms of policies against COVID, maybe we'll have another chat and we'll talk about what happened in Hong Kong instead. Well, thank you so much, Lucy.
Thank you, Chris, and I'll be happy to share what's happening and what happened in Hong Kong.